Hey guys, Nick here. Welcome to the omniverse of Nick and the next Marvel tale. What if Iron Man killed Bucky? Before we get started, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the omniverse of Nick, and check out the About tab and homepage so you don't miss anything for the omniverse's future. With all that said, let's get started. So, in canon, we figured out that in Captain America Civil War, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, was the one to kill Tony Stark, Iron Man's parents. This sparked at the very end, after finally, making a truce after the whole Civil War thing. The truce was broken, and Tony was bloodthirsty to kill Bucky, but Cap, Steve Rogers, got in the way, and this sparked one of the best fights in Marvel history. Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man. And Bucky put up a very good fight. And unfortunately, his metal arm was destroyed, and Cap was alone to fight Tony and actually ended up winning. And years later, whenever Endgame would arrive, that hatred was still there. But it was finally put aside near the end of Endgame, whenever Tony gave Cap his shield back, and both of them sacrificed themselves in the end of Endgame to defeat Thanos and take the stones back. But what if Tony had not, held back because Cap was there? What if he had actually went for the kill completely and killed Bucky Barnes? How would that have affected the story? Well, I'll just let the recording of my past self take care of it, because it's one of those what ifs, and it's not going to be picture form all the way through. So I'll let him take over and tell you about what really would have happened. Now, I wish I could tell you I could make this a story. I wish I could tell you that nothing truly bad besides Bucky's death happens. I wish that I could tell you that the story that I teased in the middle of last year would be something bigger. But I can't. Unfortunately, not all stories can be long. Not all stories are that well thought out. Not all those stories are truly given a full front hold answer, and not all stories are happy. This is going to be just like the Crossbones Turn Good, except darker, more brutal, and far more different. Think about it this way. Cap and Bucky had known each other for so long. 70 freaking past years. Pretty much. Even though the vast majority of them, they were frozen, but that's beside the point. But think about this for a second. How long they knew each other. Thought the other one was dead. Bucky was mind controlled. Cap was overtaken by grief, and the two of them had such struggles that by Civil War they finally had it figured out. And it took until the Falcon and Winter Soldier, after Cap was dead, for Bucky to be free of his mind control. And if Bucky were to die, I can't even tell you what that would result, because it's just too traumatic and dark. But I'm going to anyway, because I've done way darker on this channel. Dale remake. So basically what would happen was, so if Bucky were to actually bite the dust, Cap would kill Bucky. Iron Man. My bad. But you guys gotta understand that, Cap was never a murderer, but neither was Tony. Think about this for a second. If he, like the Crossbones story, I should have mentioned more thoroughly, but I wanted to save until this story, killing Bucky would officially make him a murderer and make him stand for everything that he was against. That is why he sold and quit Stark Industries and all the weapons and how everything came to be, and why he went so long with the Sokovia Accords, because he knew that he didn't want to be a murderer. But trying to kill Bucky in canon, killing Crossbones in the story of him, and also killing Bucky in this tale would make him the symbolization of everything he's not. A murdering, psychotic, revenge-driven, Iron Man-wearing murderer. But Cap would not follow kindly. Not even 2 seconds after Bucky would be killed, Cap would be so overtaken by rage, Tony's rage wouldn't even begin to trumpet, considering that they both pretty much beat Iron Man, if you really think about it. They won. Plain and simple. But Cap, he would not let Bucky's death stand. Not for one single solitary second. So, with Bucky's death, forget the shield to the chest, Cap would take it to his freaking head. That's how dark the story would be. I definitely could show it, but, like, it's better that I explain it this way. Not because it's, like, graphic, but because it's just so clear-cut what would happen. I have to do something like this and explain to you guys, like, in depth like this. Why this is not a happy story, any way, shape, or form. With Bucky dead, anything that Cap once held from his past is dead. Like, Bucky and Peggy were the only two things that he kept from his past. And with Peggy dead, okay, Cap lost, like, something, that's why he went back in time. But with Bucky, like, that would destroy him. And it did Infinity War until Endgame, but it was so much later, and it wasn't Tony's fault. It was Thanos's. And there was a way through it, and it was just a much different set of circumstances. But being cold-bloodedly murdered by someone he considered a friend, the level of anger, loss, grief, sadness, it would just overtake Captain. And after killing Tony, who knows what would happen from there. But let me tell you guys this. Infinity War and Endgame would be screwed. Now, I'm not just talking like I've done in other stories. And I'm not just talking like I did in the Crossbones one. With Tony literally decapitated and beaten to bloody pulps and just bits, because Cap would not stop at his head. Bucky dead, Cap on a rage, probably suicide-driven, just bubble that Tony had put him into. We lose Cap, we lose Bucky, we lose Tony, and even with Ant-Man, it's not enough. Thanos not only gets his wish, but this presents a timeline. Possibly one of the millions of timelines Doctor Strange saw that is far, 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 far from a happy ending. Not every story can end happy. And it's been like, it's had bits and pieces here and there since I had like a truly dark story, but this is one of them, if you consider the Crossbones along that tale. But yeah, this is just a very dark story. Like, there's no other way to put it. And it just really stems from the fact that what if Iron Man killed Bucky came this freaking close, a centimeter close to happening. And it just goes to show that if Tony had actually taken the fight seriously with Cap and Bucky, he could have killed him. Now, one could argue that Bucky and Cap were just that strong to overpower him, and that's why they won the fight. But it's obvious that Tony wasn't just feeling anger. He was feeling sadness, grief, mourning, But anger was not the triumphing factor, which is why Bucky was not killed. Also plot reasons. So, if he had actually taken the fight seriously, and that unibeam or something else had went through Bucky, it would have killed the MCU. Plain and simple. You thought that every single one of my other stories that I have touched upon up until this point have been dark, or at least, not the vast majority, but at least half of them have been dark, have explored dark, and shown that, like, the MCU could have had the craziest timelines ever. And What If is one of the most, like, common factors, shows, and just explorations into what actually could have happened in the MCU, especially those 14 million timelines, which we speculate about every day, but this could have been one of them. It probably is one of them. And it's far from the nicest, far from the happiest, and it just goes to show even Tony Stark, the Iron Man, and Captain America, the savior of America, can be evil. Even them. And it's something that we don't think about, because when we look at Captain America and Iron Man, we see just amazing idols of superheroes, and we see them as icons throughout our entire lives, even if they're dead, coming back in frickin' Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, but that's beside the point. At least Cap is. But this timeline goes to show, as well as many others have suggested, shown, and just overall, like, talked about, even the greatest, kindest, and most noblest and purest people, be it superhero, superhuman, alien, creature, earthling, Saiyan, demon, android, anybody possesses the opportunity for change, especially if it's good or evil. And this, not good. Not good at all. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this part. I know it was probably more dark and more thoroughly explained than you probably were thinking about, and it wasn't the story that you guys probably wanted, but when you rationalize thinking about it, you can't really put in a story about this, and honestly, I could have hyped this up more to be a little more of a story, like I did the middle of last year, but when you really think about it, there's no other way to rationalize the fact that Tony, Cap, and just the entire MCU, along with Bucky himself, they're gone. They're screwed. They're done. And it just goes to show, like I said, one of those 14 million timelines, if one of them was the lucky one, and so much about it was proved wrong, and I've proven wrong about how many of those timelines were good and evil, this just ain't a pure one. And not everything can be. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed What If Iron Man Killed Bucky. Probably one of the darker ones that I've done without truly showing darkness or, like, violence or graphicness like I have in many other Walking Dead and other stories. But explanation was needed for this based on the fact that it is just so clear-cut, violent, and just overall impacting to the MCU, Tony, Bucky, and just Iron Man and everything. I couldn't not do this. And yeah, if I had made this an actual story, it would have prolonged the fact that it's obvious what would happen. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. It's actually a pretty decent video if you guys think about it. And with that said, I will see you guys later, and for future growing stuff of the Omniverse, and just further exploration at what true what-ifs, continuities, multiverses, omniverses, universes, and timelines are good, evil, or a mix in between. And I will see you guys in the next tale.